Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode where I'm answering questions from the Automation Guild 2018 Roundtable Conference I was speaking at. So, this question is from Adam, and he says, "What are some thoughts, suggestions you have for organizations that may not be willing in a full agile that may not be working in a full agile methodology? Maybe they are still doing some degree of waterfall. What are some ways QA can shift left outside of fully adopting agile?" So that's a good question, because I think it's a common practice. There would be hardly very few teams that are doing strictly agile, and well, my opinion might change on this over time, but the important thing is not to strictly follow agile by the book, or this scrum process by the book. That's not the goal. The goal is to ship quality products and increase the number of releases that we have with time. That's the main goal here. So yes, for the most part, the evolution in software testing processes or software development processes suggests that following an agile methodology would improve that and would work a lot towards getting that goal. But that is not the goal. That is it's one of the ways you can achieve the goal. So if you are not doing 100% agile, that does not mean that you cannot shift left at all. That's what I'm trying to get to. So that's number one. Although if you were following agile, it would be easier nonetheless, but it's not impossible. So what is shifting left? Shifting left is getting feedback quickly back to the developer. So for instance, if I am developing something and I pushed in a piece of code, I did some changes. So if I get a response back to me from our automation that such and such tests were passed, and if there was a failure in the basic regression or the basic tests that we do have to check, such and such test failed, and if I get that response real quick within a few hours, since I did push that change, that's what shift left is. So you get the response real quick so that you can quickly fix that issue before it moves on to the next stage of the development lifecycle. So what are the ingredients of shifting left? So for shifting left, obviously the small scenario I just explained, you would need automated checks or tests for that. That's number one, obviously. You would need continuous integration for that, because as soon as I do check in something, there's a work job, there's a job that gets fired. It checks what changes I've made and what corresponding tests we're supposed to execute. If you have that intelligence in there, I think if you want a real quick feedback, that would be important. Your tests should have reasonable depth. Your automated checks should have reasonable depth. So if I'm doing and entering a feature, if I'm doing a change in a feature or in a module, then there should be some tests at different levels of the technology stack, which would give me an insight into such and such areas. You did not break such and such areas, they're still working fine. So all the functionality around the change I did, the basic functionality should be tested. So that's what you need. So that would, for the most part, generate a shift left, right? So, but to get there would be multiple stages. Usually how I've seen it done is that you would start with UI automation. Unfortunately, automation means UI automation for the most part, which is not true. So they would start with UI automation, and then they would think of API automation, and then probably they would go down the technology stack. Then probably in parallel they would think of, you know, adding continuous integration, adding hooks into whenever code's being pushed. Then the environment creation for your tests gets more complex. You would need environment creation and breakdown structures. You could be using, you know, it could be VMs, it could be you could be using containers for that. A lot of different ways you can do it. Really, there is no hard and fast rule of how to do it, but essentially that might be a flow through which you can reach shift left. Is you would have UI, then you would go back API and DB level, and then you would add continuous integration. You would add probably Jenkins or Circle CI or some tool to that effect. And then you would have environment creation, spinning up environments. Then you would have then the last piece probably would be, as soon as you push code, you would need some sort of scheduling to make sure that what needs to be tested. There could be a bunch of ways you can do it. You can have you can have, excuse me, like daily batch runs, for instance. Daily batch runs doing specific tests under each area, but as your automation suite increases, that might not be an option. For instance, it might take like 48 hours or 72 hours or something. So that's, you know, you cannot, that just destroys the whole idea of shift left. So you cannot wait 72 hours. It has to be quick. So you would need a scheduler which can check that if this feature was changed, then, or this module was changed, then these are the tests I'm supposed to check or supposed to schedule for execution. So I think if you follow these steps, easier said than done. You can eventually reach to a shift left point, but it's going to take some time and effort, definitely, but it's worth it. That's the point. It's really worth it. Getting that feedback real quick early in the life cycle is really important. And one last thing on that, so usually why teams haven't gone into a full agile mode is a couple of things that I've seen. Sometimes that notion or those silos of development and QA, they and them, unless that is not broken, this is not going to move forward. And if those silos do exist, shift left is also going to be a problem. So the reasons why you're not agile, probably if they are reasons something like this one, you have silos and they're not ready to let go, then probably shift left is not going to happen, because shift left needs 100% collaboration from both teams, and they're not going to collaborate unless they have those silos, right? So that's something worth looking into, as to if you have, you know, there are such challenges that might not allow a shift left culture. So a shift left or DevOps is a culture. It's a mindset which has to seep into the whole team, and it's not something that an individual or just the automation team is going to do. It's an overall culture in the organization, and everyone should be on the same page, and that's when you would be able to get to the shift left. So as important as the technology migration is, more important would be the mindset migration towards a more open and collaborative structure. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, add them in the comments below. If you find this video useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to join us in redefining software quality. See you next time.